In the news, CNN and Fox have merged into a single news network called FNN, the Fake News Network. This way, the rich can save money by misleading and oppressing the poor, all on one network. Everyone, Brento here. Welcome back to another episode of Dump City. We got an interesting show today. We're about to see an earthquake here, okay? So I prepped the episode just when I was about to play into June. An earthquake hit late in May, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to save it for the show. So the first thing you get to see is an earthquake. We haven't had one of those for quite a few years now. And our city's much bigger than before, so I don't know how well that's going to work. I think our fire stations are equipped for it, but you never know what buildings are going to get hit. You always lose some buildings in an earthquake, so hopefully it's not too bad. What's on the show today, though? Plenty of topics, not as many as previous weeks. I find that it's a little too much when I'm doing too many things at once, so I'm going to be a little bit more modest in terms of off-topic commentary. We have enough of a challenge with the world today that too many distractions might not be good. So what's in the show? I played lottery round stake. I'll explain the rules of that and my strategy when I played it. See how that went. You don't always win at lottery round stake. I have an idea to beat Elon Musk in the space race. He has all the money. He takes your tax dollars, and when you pay your taxes, he works with government officials to put requirements on how they can be spent so only he can collect it. And ultimately that goes to the building rockets, a century before we really need them. But hey, when the poor are voiceless, what can you do? But I have a better idea to get on a spaceship and off this planet faster than him. So we'll see how that compares. It's an outside the box idea, more economical, I think. I have an idea for a new YouTube show. So if you're watching this on YouTube, maybe this will be a show on YouTube sometime in the future. Maybe it exists. I don't know. We'll see. The most common profession for furries. If you've heard of a furry, what do these people do? What's their job, right? Like, that must be expensive to be a furry. It's a strange thing. I don't know much about it, but I found out the most common profession that furries have. I have an idea for a new Windows feature. Okay, I know Windows has some good things, some bad things about it, but I have a suggestion. I'm going to do this little bit called Gonzo U-Tube. You'll see a little bit later what that's about. Gonzo U-Tube. If you're familiar with Gonzo journalism, there's Gonzo U-Tube. And finally, I have an idea for how to detect if you're being spied on your computer. A way you could theoretically detect the spy. Keystrokes, where you're visiting, maybe your camera turns on. Who knows? Maybe the microphone turns on whenever certain people decide to listen in, right? The software is so complicated on these operating systems, you just don't know what's going on. So I figured out a safer way to actually detect that. So without further ado, let's get this earthquake going and see how much destruction there is, right? Now that I've forced you to listen to the topics, let's get the cursor controlling the world here. A few things too in this episode. Normally I get caught up. I'm not going to follow the world as much, okay? I'm going to assume that you know a little bit about what's going outside the greater Los Angeles area. And at this point in the series, like, we're getting near the end of the season, so it's unlikely anyone watching this is going to be just jumping in near the end here. Like, yeah, maybe a few of you are, but just go back a few episodes if you don't understand the full context of what's going on in the game. I will catch up on a few things. Obviously, some things have changed between episodes, and we do have a project we want to work on here, the television station, in case you couldn't figure that out from the title of the episode. It's one of the biggest buildings in the game, and it's going to be a real challenge to actually build it. So that's why I'm trying to stay focused on it. Maybe I shouldn't be paused this long, but let's see how the earthquake does here. What's going on here with the earthquake? There it is. You see that? You see there's things moving? Actually, you can't see it so much at that altitude. Okay, what's going on here? Where are the news events? It's taking us some time. The animation seems to have stopped. Or maybe we don't have an earthquake. I paused and I saved it as soon as the rattling started. Oh, did that cancel the earthquake? Where is it? I thought I saw some shaking there. There was an earthquake when I saved it last, and it appears to have disappeared. I can't see any damage here. You listen to that intro, and then the earthquake didn't happen. Hey, I can't do anything about that. I just play the game. The game acts strange. So I guess if you pause a game and save it, it will disable an earthquake. That is strange. Well, sorry. You want to see an earthquake? Maybe it'll show up later. I don't know. That's a little strange. Maybe the devs might want to look into how that's possible, but it is what it is. And I got to get back onto the show here. So what's happened since the last episode then? The last few weeks I've had issues with delivering projects on time. And part of that is because our track builders are constantly causing problems. For this episode, I did something smart. As you can see here, I've disabled the track builder. It's too hard to build realistic tracks in realistic mode like this and present stuff and, have nearly 20,000 people in your city at the same time. So this has always been a headache. So because of the complication of the project we're doing, I thought it would be a good idea to disable it for this episode. This here is actually the project of the episode, our television station. Okay, for now we'll call it U-Tube, right? We can do some YouTube references and not actually mean the YouTube you might be watching this on. There's different ways you can spell words that sound the same, right? But we'll call this YouTube. This is our television station. It has 11,000 work days to build. And I don't know if we're going to get this finished on time just because this is by far the biggest building we've built. And in terms of the status of the world, you're like, well, if you're going bankrupt, why are you building this? This is a $2 million building. Have a look at this. Our ruble's borrowing power at 8 million. Okay, if you follow the series, this is sort of this is a money management show too, okay? If you into economics and understanding, the entertainers and the politicians around you know very little about actual economics. They just regurgitate whatever the people that donate to them tell them to do, right? And as a result, they don't actually understand the economy terribly well. So this is actually a simulation in order to teach how economics really work, creating jobs. I thought we were going to have an earthquake earlier in the episode, so I hired a bunch of firefighters just before it started. But now, in truth, there is no earthquake, so I have to lay off hundreds of people across my city here because when you create fake jobs, it actually is not good for anyone. If you're an American, you work 40 hours a week. In actuality, with the level of technology we have and if fair redistribution were in effect, i.e. the people at the top weren't taking half your salary before giving it to you, you'd be a lot better off. That's probably a bigger concern than anything else. But underneath all that, there's still an economy, the way you run things. And if you get distracted by the pomp and circumstance of celebrities and politicians teaching you how an economy should work, in actual fact, your economy could get tanked. The net effect is you got to make more than what you consume and your society survives. If you don't do that, eventually you either go to war or the revolution happens. Those are the three scenarios. So the smartest one is to operate your economy well. Do that first and you don't have to worry about revolutions or wars. But unfortunately, our politicians and leaders are kind of stupid and they don't actually understand how the economy works. So that does remind me, just before the recording too, I hired a bunch of firefighters and I thought we were going to be putting out fires and I guess not needed here, right? So let's do that, because if I don't do that, everyone's going to be stuck doing that and our economy will go kaputs. And our borrowing power in US dollars, which is now 3 million. Ever since our tourist trap got set up, it's tourism. If you jump ahead in the series and you didn't watch, all the little shenanigans I've been doing to try to make money in this game, it seems like tourism is the thing. Maybe I've read that nuclear fuel and stuff can do well. Maybe bauxite does well, but my God, tourism. It's almost a shame I'm not building the third hotel right now. We have a third one scheduled over here because we have to do our television station. But The benefit of the television station is that it improves the productivity of everyone else. We're closing on our goal of 20,000 people. And just to clarify one thing here, I said the season would end when we have a U.S. purchasing power of $2 million or more, and our population is 20,000. We're getting very close to that. But I want to reiterate that population seems to spike in summer, and in winter it can go down. I've lost like 900 people a couple of winters ago. So the key is it has to be 20,000 on census date. So the last census we had was 18,600. Wow, so we've gained 600 people basically since February 22nd. We could hit 20,000 even during this recording. That doesn't end the season. It has to be on census day. See, I don't know if this many people are going to survive the winter. I can't stop them from moving in. I did limit it to just one new apartment building here, built since last episode. This is new, right? But the end of season condition, just so we're clear, is 20,000 at census time. So let's go back to playing here. This has caused major problems in the past where I put everyone in the fire station temporarily, then forget to take them off. Or if I move a new fire truck in and they basically all work at the fire station and the economy goes to crap, basically. So good thing I caught that right away. Research is done. What did we discover here? Oh, it looks like we discovered some sort of uranium something or other. Let's keep researching that. I think we might want to consider this as a future industry. I'd like to consider making an airport in the future too, but eventually we're going to have to get all these. Let me just double check this in terms of what was just discovered. You might be interested in knowing what that is. Uranium separation techniques was discovered. Okay, so we're still working our way up that chain. Apparently it's lucrative, but I don't know if it's as good as the tourist industry. So yeah, we're going to see if we can get this done this episode. I am going to have to keep a close eye on our construction offices to make sure we have sufficient machinery and supplies. It's going to be a little bit more focused on that. I'll do some checks here, borrow some money. Maybe I'll start with my first topic of the show. You know, we do a little bit of gameplay and we mix it up with actual random topics just to make it so it's not too monotonous in one or the other. You can get, if I talk about these random topics, like the whole show, you wouldn't be able to last. I need guests and stuff to make that interesting. But if we mix up a little bit of gameplay in between, we can have ourselves a bit of a show here. Okay, I see we have a lot of trucks here doing nothing. I am concerned. Let's make sure that, okay, so concrete looks like it's the bottleneck. We're waiting on, see that there? We're waiting on concrete. I did buy a couple more concrete trucks. I don't know if they've arrived yet, but I do have to make sure there's never a concrete truck here. I do have to make sure the concrete facility is working well. I might even go up to 4 for this episode just because it's going to be really hard to get enough people making concrete for this big facility. Keep an eye on things, even though it's going to be a little easier to manage the trains. All our track isn't fully built yet, so we don't know what's going to be our bottleneck here. You never want new money train to get stuck, so we got to keep an eye on that. Another thing I did do between episodes is I added, now we're up to like 5 locomotives in our distribution office, and I got a ton of wagons, just tons of wagons. And this is like, these trains are like, it's rare to see them parked here. Let's see here. We have, yeah, we got 2 of them parked. I think the rest are probably out. Okay, 3 of them parked right now. Maybe it's because I'm not doing anything else special. I've really kind of got everything set up to build U-Tube, okay? And we have to also make sure we're going to have enough steel. Eventually, we're going to run out of steel. So the distribution office should just put more steel in there. So this should really improve things quite a bit. Another thing, too, our Dumpo-Vision facility here has been working quite extensively. It's making electronics. We're probably even selling some of them. Some of it goes into the warehouse here. Let's have a look. Yeah, it must have recently just emptied the warehouse. There's a train waiting. Why is there a train waiting? What is going on? Oh, I thought, see, I don't get that. So here's another game glitch, I guess. So I decided to fire all my track workers, because they always cause problems with the stupid track builders getting in the wrong place during the show. But for some reason, even though they were fired, they're still out there blocking the tracks. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that good thing I checked that and didn't get into one of these topics here? All these guys should be out of the way. Okay, I want to tell you a little story here. It's just a dumb one. Just a dumb topic to start here. No earthquake. I was hoping to do an earthquake. I thought once an event spawned, it was spawned, right? Maybe it's a scripted thing, and if you hit save during it, it disappears. But you'd think eventually you'd, like, there's another one due to hit soon, right? Like, you couldn't seriously avoid natural disasters by doing that in the game. That would seem kind of fishy if you could. I want to rename this to Bones of the Angels. If you've been following the series, you know what that means. Bones of the Angels. You know I'm into the ancient alien stuff, so yeah, that's the name of that. I wanted to rename that as part of the show. Oh, one other thing too, before I get onto the first topic here. Still getting a little bit caught up in the world. I might have built this more than one episode ago, but I don't think I ever went over it. I put a pollution sensor here, just to give you an idea of how polluted our Los Angeles is right now. We're always like 4 times the average that it normally warns you about. And typically at max pollution here. Even with the heating plant shut down, this seems to be happening. So yeah, we'll work on that. Okay, that's what we're starting off with, okay? Again, Los Angeles, real life Los Angeles has had a lot of pollution in 1988. We're going to be working on making it cleaner over time, okay? So you're probably wondering what lottery rotten round steak is. Why would you play that? There are people who like their adrenaline rushes. People like to skydive. They like to bungee jump. They like to race cars. Me, I'm very poor. I'm poorer than people on welfare, okay? I have been losing money for years. I used to have a career many years ago. They let me buy a house. They let me keep the mortgage, but now I don't have the money to actually pay the mortgage. So hopefully this takes off. I will rely on this at some point as an income. But I do like to have an adrenaline rush now and then. I like excitement. Everyone does, don't they? So one game I like to play is the lottery games, where rather than throw food out, I will eat it. So the other day I played Lottery Rotten Round Steak. My roommate had a steak that was clearly smelled bad, and it was a round steak to boot. And I thought, you know what? The average person who would see that would definitely throw that out just by the smell, but it wasn't super strong. So I don't want to throw this out. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to cook it and eat it. And, well, at least try to eat it. You know, so the rules are, if you want to play Lottery Rotten Round Steak, after cooking your steak, you should probably still see if it smells bad. As well, when you cook it, this is how I prepared it. I slow cooked it at 200 Fahrenheit in a little oven. And then afterwards, I put it on a frying pan and seared it. All the surfaces where there could have been any kind of bacteria. And what was the result? Was I sick? Sometimes I get sick. This time, no. No, it worked. And actually, you know what? I was surprised. It tasted better than a normal round steak. Round steaks taste terrible normally. I ate it like a beef jerky, kind of. Like it was kind of done well in the end. And it was kind of like eating beef jerky. Very similar. It's like I made beef jerky, basically. Maybe that's what they do with rotten round steaks. So there you go. That's what happens when you play Lottery Rotten Round Steak. You discover new things. Okay, let's see here. I can't really hit pause too much in the game because this has... Okay, we got all our concrete in. I think our extra concrete trucks are starting to kick in. We got vehicles here. And honestly, the only thing I care about, look at that, 113 workers, 3 excavators. The only thing that could make this go faster, look how fast those work days are going down. Even though I call this YouTube and we're going to do some propaganda kind of stuff, maybe not quite like Brainwashed, the Brainwashed radio episode. It is an entertainment-focused topic. Really, this is a building episode. It is the most challenging building, one of the most challenging buildings you can build. I started with a little bit of it done, okay, just to make it reasonable. Can this be done during a recording? We've never tried anything like this, so even though you didn't get your exciting earthquake. And I feel like, how was I supposed to know that would happen? The earthquake just disappeared. It is a challenge. Look at this. Our amount due tomorrow is now 95,000. Our US dollar amount due has been going down a little bit each year, like maybe 1,000 or 2,000. And I think as long as we don't do anything new, waste any money on giant television projects or anything, I think we're safe. We're going to be okay. We're going to prove communism actually does work. Again, I've never won at realistic mode, so I feel like I'm winning right now. I get that sense that, given that I can borrow $3.5 million and we're getting close to our 20,000 target population, I feel like I'm winning at communism a little bit. Let's keep an eye on other things here. We want to make sure our food never runs out. Let's see if this guy unloads all the food. This is new money train, selling the food or surplus food. Now, a lot of people play this game, and like if you go in the forums and you ask people around, all they do is use spreadsheet. Look at this data, look at this. A little lesson in life in terms of being efficient and theoretics. There's an expression in engineering, in theory works. In practice, it doesn't. Okay? And just because something's a little more efficient doesn't mean there aren't other nuances to it. Like, for example, the more efficient industries in this game typically require more research time to discover, which is a cost you cannot ignore. You can just make food factories instantly. So you're instantly making money. You've got to get right on that making money. If you have to loan too much money to feed your people for too long in order to then discover a more efficient industry, the interest you might be paying on that from the early loans might offset all the benefits of the new industry. So maybe if you're playing in the non-realistic mode, and again, if you haven't played this game before, do not start in realistic mode. This is very, very hard. This is like an immortal difficulty in Civilization, which is insane. Or Emperor, if you haven't played since Civ 2, just very hard to play. Work your way up. Go through the tutorials, go through the campaign, play at an average setting, then try the realistic mode. I failed my first time at realistic mode. It ramps up that fast. And I did learn that, the food is actually not a bad idea, though. That was you need it anyways. And we can sell the extra food. So let's just check here. Oh, there's a little bit left over here. Let's just adjust the route a tiny bit here so it takes it smidge more from the warehouse. I'm going to make it take 65. New Money Train has customized box cars that take varying amounts. So it takes 65% of its capacity, but the capacity of clothes, food, and alcohol have all been customized in the train itself. I'll just quickly show that. I have been really tuning this. See this here, the advanced setup, this is a big deal. So I got 50% max capacity. It's kind of like setting up a warehouse, okay, or an open storage where you have fixed amounts. You can do that with your box cars too. So I've restricted to only crops and alcohol for this train, and alcohol only as a 50% capacity. So we got 2 box cars of food, 1 and 2. We got 2 of alcohol and 1 of clothes. It just takes 10% load of clothes back, but that makes us money. It makes quite a bit of money, actually. I don't think it makes as much as the tourism, but nonetheless, it makes us money. It was our first stage money. If you want to learn more about tourism, watch 2 episodes ago. We did something on that. Let's keep an eye here on our YouTube station. Okay, let's do another topic here. Another stupid topic. This is an interesting perspective. Haven't looked at the city from this side very often. Okay. So Elon Musk wastes a lot of taxpayer dollars by getting government contracts to launch rockets to go to Mars. Okay. I'm all for the satellites. This is good for the people. This increases total human knowledge, which is really the bottleneck getting us to Mars, because Elon Musk, he's not wise enough to know how much he doesn't know. Try to set up a colony in northern Canada to live for 1 year, fully self-sustaining. Try to do that without any reliance on the outside world. See if you can do that first. Okay? This is a multi-generation experiment you need to be doing, yet we're already sending the rockets out. What a waste. What a waste of taxpayer dollars. It's ignorance from lots of people. Heck, even going to the moon, because we've done it before, I think we're for level 2 of knowledge. Build a moon hotel, Elon. That would actually be, you'd probably make a lot of money in tourism. Like, serious, that would actually make money. Going to Mars has no purpose. It's not a good business idea. It's just taking taxpayer dollars and squandering it while other people starve. So here's my idea to beat Elon Musk to Mars. So, as many of you know, that I don't know if you know who Bob Lazar is and the ancient alien theory, and you know that I subscribe to it. You know, as I study the Caltech's research on Planet X, and I think they're going to find Planet X sooner or later. So here's my idea to get to Mars more efficiently. This is the logical argument why going to Mars has to be put on pause, because we still haven't spotted Planet X. So spot Planet X first, and once you spot it, that means stop everything for going to Mars. The new plan becomes wait for the Anunnaki to visit our planet again, like they do with their colony ships every 10 to 20,000 years. They bring in the ice ages with it, as you know, when they come out of the Oort cloud. And it is to borrow one of their spaceships and then just go to Mars on it. Just hitchhike, basically. That's the plan, okay? So do that. That's much smarter use of our taxpayer dollars. My plan is more sane than Elon Musk's plan. All right. Oh, how are we doing? Oh, look at that. Right on time. Ran out of money just at the right. I should actually have a timer to figure out how often I have to borrow. Okay, let's check this out. Oh my, look at all these machines here. Can we send another one? This guy could go too. Let's see if this guy goes to really accelerate. I still think concrete's going to be our bottleneck. Let's see if this guy will go to YouTube. He will go to YouTube. This old crane, I'm going to scrap it soon, but this might be one of its last projects. Oh yeah, in the upcoming episode, our staging zone. Look at this. We have gravel actually ready to build roads into Las Vegas. We're starting to stockpile some goods that are open storage. I have another project here I put on pause. We'll have a warehouse full of goods too. These will continue to fill up before next week's episode. And I think we might try to ambush Vegas and take it over with communism. So we'll see how well that works. Okay, we now have lots. Oh, look, the concrete is coming in kind of fast. Like that's 29 tons waiting there. What's missing here? We need bricks, and we need bricks. Okay, we need all open hull trucks. All the open hull trucks need to be in action. I don't think we need an excavator right now. We can do this, and we can put this. This is my little pro tip. If you want to overload your construction offices a little bit, do that. When you don't need excavators, but you need open hull trucks, so swap them around. And the other benefit to it too is this is a good opportunity to swap vehicles to get repairs as well. If you only have all your vehicles loaded inside the construction office but with no surplus, then you won't have any opportunity to really repair them, right? So this lets you do repairs, you know, in between making your buildings more efficiently, right? So you can sort of supercharge your projects. Let's see if we have any open hulls that are like that. That's a 90 kilometer an hour kind of crappy open hull. Oh, we got one here. It's not doing anything. I don't think we need so many dumpers. It seems like we got a little bit too many. I'm going to send one of these guys. I know it's only 22% repair, but we have 5 of them doing nothing. So I'm pretty sure we can get away with having one less for now. Okay, so we'll add another open hull to get those bricks over soon. Let's make sure we have enough bricks for the episode. Oof. Let's add a few more brick jobs just in case, because those bricks are going to get eaten up. We also got to keep an eye that steel doesn't run out. Okay, it is about to run out here. Okay, so we have to make sure one of our trains. See, I'm really only focusing on one major project. This is the biggest building ever built, so I'd be kind of dumb not to. I just want to make sure we have a train going to get steel somewhere. There it is. Nice, nice, nice. Sometimes that can be an issue too at the border because our waste pickup trains here, where we buy our garbage from China, they take a long, long time to load. So sometimes when the distribution office has a train in here too, that can be a problem, right? We might want to connect to a few more borders in the future. And unfortunately, just a bit of a side note in terms of garbage being the economy, I wish it could load faster. That's the real bottleneck, is the loading speed at the custom houses is very, very slow. The fastest loading I think you can do is with these big waste trucks. I think they load faster than the trains, but the trains for some reason can't load garbage very fast. So if that could be done, this would be much, much more viable. But for some reason, it's extremely delayed. Oh yeah, another follow-up here. In related to this intersection's been very, very busy. Our traffic is not great here. I've seen this consistently get pretty long. And we are still working on our subway system. Our track builders are out of commission right now, so we won't be seeing any progress right now. I got to disable them for the show. Just too much of a distraction. You've watched me get pissed off at these enough times that I don't want to do the same show twice, right? So we'll keep those out of the way. But we're getting close here. We have 2 stations built for our subway network. You know, we have one up above the ground here, and we have another built right here. This is below ground. You can't see it, but this is the access point below ground. Right there. Kind of nice. And then we're going to have another one here that will get built soon. And then finally, of course, the terminus end will be right at the television station. So if people can't find jobs anywhere in the Republic, of course, they end up on YouTube. Okay, we're doing okay here. I think chugging along. If you're watching, you could calculate whether this is going to get done. Our concrete, our boards, let's check out boards too. Don't want to, you know, we do have a pretty robust board building network, but 174 available. Let's see what we're going to need total. Okay, we're good for boards. We need another 202 bricks, or 201 bricks now. Uh-oh, we do not have 201 bricks, so bricks could become our bottleneck here. Let's go up to 18 workers. Okay, let's talk about another idea. Actually, yeah. Let's set up a nice camera angle here. Let's do it with the radio station kind of in the background here. Again, there are entire shows out there. There's entire shows out there where people just yap on YouTube. They're just yapping. They don't play video games. They don't simulate communism. They don't do anything that's that. It's just their ideas. And speaking of ideas, I have an idea for a YouTube show. Obviously, I can't do this because I'm not rich enough, because ideas don't matter if they come from poor people. But if this channel picks up and I get enough impressions, despite my poverty, this still could get done. So, and maybe this very episode, maybe Dump City itself could actually be used for this as source material. And what it is, it's the battle of the editors. Something I think would be a cool idea for YouTube. You could do this with multiple shows. It could be an ongoing thing where each week, multiple editors take a crappy show like Dump City and they edit it with special effects. Maybe they put a title screen, maybe they put an intro, maybe they put credits. Maybe, let's say you could add up to 5 extra minutes of bonus footage as a rule. Okay. So you could get like a celebrity come in and, you know, maybe you get AI to make it look like there's a celebrity talking about the show. Maybe this is a great show. You could gaslight millions of people into believing this is a show of the ages, something like that. Or it could be a funny show instead, or it could be a teaching show. It teaches you economics. Who knows? However the editor wants to frame it. One of the things I think would be cool is that each episode of itself, the winner edits the show in the series. So not only are they editing some other show in it, the show itself that you're watching is being edited. They get final creative decisions on the actual show you're watching week to week. So it would be a little different week to week. It's not like they're going to be risking brand integrity by doing this. They're being voted the winner. The theory is they have enough good creative vision to actually make a good show. So why don't we give that a try, YouTube? Battle of the Editors, okay? Maybe customize the rules a little bit different from what I'm suggesting, but that's the concept of it. The very show you are watching had final creative decisions made by the editor who won, but you don't know who won because they're presenting their own battle in their own edited episode, so you don't know who's going to win. They could frame it in certain ways, like this is the bad guy, right? And they're the good guy. And then you could, like, I can see that being funny for some of the episodes where they put like dark lighting around the person who's going to lose all the time. And then just, you know, angels and halos around the winning editor who's editing their own video. I don't know, just something you could do. But Battle of the Editors, something for YouTube to give a try. Okay, let's see how things are going here. We're not going to look what's happening in Houston. That's never been done. We've done this, like, I've always checked up on Houston, but I don't know, maybe, who knows? There could be disasters going on in Houston. I'm not even looking. I should probably look. Should I look? Okay, you know what? I want to look. I want to look. Okay, maybe for someone who's not seen. I do have to check one little thing. I want to make sure there's enough fertilizer. Oh, there's enough fertilizer. Is any of our dumps overflowing? That one's getting pretty full. I'm not going to break down the other details of what's going on there. There was a big fly flying around me before the recording, and I got it just before, like minutes before I hit record. And I thought we'd be good, but there's another fly that I've seen. But this one I think saw what I did to the first fly, and it's been laying low. That's how you teach the flies. Okay. God, some of the topics in this show are they're just so dumb. They're just so dumb. Some of the things. Hitchhiking from the Anunnaki? Good lord. That is so crazy. Who would watch this show? Okay, let's make sure our trucks, they're full of concrete. Yes. Sometimes if there's problems, your vehicles will not be taking full loads. But these seem to be taking big loads. And I think concrete, we are moving lots of concrete. We're doing well. As long as I'm focused on one project at a time. This was actually, like, this building's been kind of laid out in this area for weeks. Okay, you've seen me planning it out, but this is the final position of it. And one of the nice things, too, is I built this little overpass here. Because this employs, I think, 500 people or something. It's just ridiculous. Let's have a little check here of how many people the television station actually employs. It employs only 120. I thought it employed more than that. Well, 190 total, I guess. 120 workers and 70 idiots like me who have shows. How come, where are my workers that help me make the show? I have to do everything on the show. That's ridiculous. I think if America became socialist, YouTube would offer more marketing services because unfortunately, a lot of the public will not trust a product or a brand unless there's enough money up front. That's a topic I'm going to talk about later in the episode. This is just a general problem with the indoctrination of the people of Western societies. Most people are completely unaware of it too, and they sabotage their own cultures. There's a lot of YouTubers out there and people that are catered to by these YouTubers. It's mostly just, it's not the YouTuber's fault. YouTubers make what the people want. The problem is people want some dumb things out there. Okay, just things that are not good. It's self-sabotaging things that don't really actually help anyone. Our alcohol's a little low. Gotta pause real quick. Look how close we went to almost actually not being able to pay the postal workers. Ooh, that was a close call. Look at that. So like I just borrowed 500,000, so we were below zero. And why is that happening right now? Because we're buying something at this border here, I think. It's this train here, I think. Oh no, maybe not. We're buying something in rubles that's expensive. Let's see, I don't know what it was. Oh, here it is. Oh, steel, yeah. Steel is so expensive. Yeah, that was actually one of the reasons why I was been very reluctant to build YouTube, because it takes a lot of steel. We are eating through the steel again. We're spending money faster than we ever have. I think we're going to win at Communism. The season's looking good. I was very, very concerned about 4 or 5 weeks ago when I had to borrow 100,000 at a time. The borrowing power was so bad in US dollars, we were very, very close to going bankrupt. Money Train would have no longer been able to buy crops from Canada, from the scamming Canadians. Indirectly, I screwed up just there. I screwed up. Look at that. Some payments were missed. I was yapping too much. But oh well. Money is actually not as important as a good economy. Like, take China, for example. They have a lower GDP per capita than the US, but the purchasing power, I believe, is greater. Okay, so one thing Americans don't understand is that they got to pay for healthcare, they got to pay for university, you got to pay a lot on your mortgage or rent. You got to pay these things. These are incredibly expensive things. Food isn't so bad, but then you got like things like insurance, all these scam industries, these old money industries that just leech from the system that you're so accustomed to paying are not present in places like China. So you still got to pay a rent there, but there's people on YouTube. There's a woman who's a teacher in China who shows off her luxury apartment, and she said it costs $300 a month. And I think her work pays for a portion of it too. She makes 30 grand a year, something like that, with her job, but her expenses are so low, she's actually able to save money at 30,000. Now, if you were to get paid 90,000 in the US doing the same job with the same quality of life, like she's eating in nice restaurants, like this is not her having to suffer. You got to compare the quality of life she's living in China versus the cost of that life in the US. And I think at 90,000 a year, you're doing about the same. So that means a person making 3 times as much in the US is actually doing just as well as someone in China. So how dumb do you have to be against socialism if socialism creates the opposite of inflation? It creates deflation. It makes everything so cheap that even though you're poor, everything's so cheap it doesn't matter. You're living a higher quality life. It's such a scam to live in the United States. It really is. It's just unbelievable that people don't actually consider, like, that's the media misleading you too. They'll say GDP went up. GDP means nothing if the cost of, like, purchasing power is all that matters. PPP is the statistic that's far more relevant. How much does your dollar buy you, right? And even that has some problems with it. It really should just come down to the consumer price index. What is your purchasing power? Just flat out of the normal things, not stuff you would have bought in the 1960s, of the things you would buy today. Is it getting better or worse? And from what I can tell, since the 80s, since the tax cuts on the rich began, the vast majority of the population's purchasing power has gone down, and the rich people who control the media like to tell you, look at the GDP numbers. The US is the top 10 in the world. No, it's not. That's a lie. The media's been lying to you the whole time. The statistic itself means nothing. It has no bearing. Unless you are a billionaire, it means nothing to you. What matters is your purchasing power and your quality of life, and that has gone down. So the lies, that's what propaganda will do. That's what radio and television is for. And the only solution is heavy taxation on the rich. And again, millionaire flight is a myth. The common argument is if we tax them, they'll leave. Good. Actually, they deny innovation. They actually make your economy worse. It would be better off as long as you nationalize your banks like China did. That's the key thing here. If you don't nationalize banks and have central people-owned cooperative banks, Yeah, you are in trouble if the rich lead, but a few lawyers and a few politicians should quite easily be able to rectify that problem. Let them leave. It's probably for the better. Okay, let's see how we're doing. Concrete. You know what? We're doing okay. It is lagging, but I think we have enough concrete trucks. We might get this done. If it gets done early, maybe I will start on this hotel. I would like to get some tourists in fairly quickly. More tourists, because I believe our other hotels are overflowing. Oh yeah, they don't have service. Oh, it's costing us money. We're gouging them everywhere too, and yet they're still showing up to see stuff. We have tourists, all that money being wasted. You'd think that television would improve tourism. Like a lot of people, I imagine, use YouTube to see what other countries are like and decide if they want to visit. I wonder if this does have some impact. This is the second time I've tried realistic mode. I haven't been playing this game this game's been out for many, many years. I've only been playing it for a couple. So I jump into games late sometimes because I can't afford, like I bought it at half price on Steam, basically. I can't afford to spend much money. I have no add-ons, no DLC. I just am that broke. The machine I'm playing it on, it technically is not the best machine to play this on. So I noticed just there, I was talking, all that steel we're buying from the Soviet bloc is affecting our purchasing power. This TV station is expensive, okay? Make no mistake about it. That having to buy this much steel is a bit of an issue. Our bricks seem to be, I think we have enough bricks. We could probably start, we just need 80 some bricks now. I think we could, yeah, we're going to bring this back down to, let's go down to 12. Back where we were. Again, we shouldn't be wasting rubles just because we can, but there's no other choice. Like, we don't produce enough steel domestically. Next season, probably set up a steel mill. That's a pretty serious project. There's a lot of major industries I think we could do in a season 2 here. I need to be basically monetized to begin that, though. To be able to afford to... Well, honestly, I really don't have a choice but to get monetized to do season 2, because at 20,000 people, the game's going to start chugging. Like, once we get to 40,000 people, I am going to have to buy a machine capable of housing 40,000 Sims, okay? And I can't afford that right now. So we need to get that far. If you want this show and all this nonsense writing, all these stories that all these writers put together for the show, you're going to have to help out with that. If you're, and again, I'm only talking to 1% of you, the people that I trash talk the most. But again, that doesn't mean all rich people are stupid. There are smart rich people, and they understand the burden of the dumb rich people is, super duper conservative type people who want nothing to change. They want to unwind technology. They want to they don't understand the security risk they pose. These are the ones that are a danger to society, that they should not be influencers, yet they are. Now, there are people out there who are progressive thinkers, right? Technically, Elon Musk could like this show. I crap on him on equal measure as I praise him too, so, because he's somewhere in the middle. I like his Teslas are a great idea. Again, if you've seen the episode, I think it was last week, I was talking about putting a Tesla meter and having Teslas built as an industry, as an advanced industry. Make it so that the vehicle production line can make Teslas. Once we build that, you can actually choose from many models of cars, but if he was to sponsor a sequel, put a Tesla meter. I'm okay with that. EVs are a pretty good idea. And I'm an electrical engineer, right? I went to school learning electrical engineering. So I had the idea of vehicles like this 20, 30 years ago. That like when I learned how stepper motors and basic electric motors worked, I was like, why can't we make cars operate this way? Again, I wasn't rich, so couldn't do anything about it, but Elon Musk was rich, so he was able to actually basically do the same ideas I had when I was in the 1990s. The real genius of all the things that I say are good about EVs, the real genius behind them is that they don't have fluid systems. that the maintenance costs, the nightmares of, your transmission fluids, your coolant systems, oil, God, oil, having to get your oil changed is such a, like, the dependency on the maintenance of it is the deal breaker for me. That's why I hate my vehicle. Every vehicle I've owned the last 20 years is just this nonstop money sink. And EVs are cheaper to maintain. Even the battery replacement, even though it's a big cost, is still cheaper than, on average, than your combustion engines. So why on earth would, like, again, people are so brainwashed, and they don't do the numbers right. They don't calculate, oh yeah, I got a transmission fluid, your brake pressure, stuff like that. These things all require money, and it adds up. And the maintenance, the ongoing maintenance, and the time it takes, you gotta, take a half day off just to bring your car to a mechanic. It is such a waste of time, and that it's because it's an older technology. Older stuff is not good, on average, as newer stuff in principle. And if you endorse rejecting the newer stuff, you're not helping anyone. You're just ignorant. Like, you should learn the advantages of an EV. And again, that's not to say every EV is perfect. The Tesla models, there's a little bit of gouging going on with that too. We need socialism sooner than later, right? Then the gouging won't happen. But assuming there isn't artificial gouging, on average, EVs are much easier to maintain. And like the fuel cost, instead of, spending, $100 a week to go whatever travel distance you have, you're going to spend, $20. Like, that's just $83 for you. If you're making $40 an hour, that's 2 free hours of work just because you weren't stupid enough to buy a combustion engine car, right? Now, I know there's range issues with, EVs. And if you're out in the country, maybe you got to get a combustion engine for the longer range. Okay, I get it. It's not for everyone, but most people live in cities, and most people don't have to drive that much. Like, you don't need charging stations either. You just charge at home. That's the whole point. You don't need to even waste your time going to a gas station. This thing that you're so habitually used to doing, you've been brainwashed into doing it your whole life that you never realized you never needed to do it in the first place. That's an advantage of the EV. Okay, that was unscripted rant there, but that's part of the show, right? That's what I do. How are we doing here? We're doing okay. I think we're going to get this done in the episode. I'm looking at the time, and I think we're going to get this done. There's been a couple of missed payments here. Sorry about the earthquake. I was hoping to get an earthquake. There was an earthquake when I hit the save, but it disappeared. Maybe that's a lesson too. Let's say you're playing a game, and let's say you're playing realistic mode, and like, you're barely hanging on, and the last thing you need is an earthquake. Hit pause, hit save, exit the game, I guess, and the earthquake disappears. But I hit it pretty quick. Like, it just rattled for a second or two. Maybe it was within one of these ticks I hit pause. You see how it ticks up? We have our 60-hour days in the Soviet Republic. I might have hit pause like just before it reached the next tick point. Maybe I was that fast. Like, just hit spacebar, hit pause, and it disappeared. I thought we were going to get the full earthquake for you, for your entertainment. I would think we're due for another one soon enough, but I don't personally want to see the earthquakes. Oh, this isn't closed. Oh my God, this is supposed to be closed. Why is it producing heat? Oh well. These were supposed to be closed down. I assume these are all... Okay, these are closed down. Oopsies. Yeah, I don't know. That's just bizarre. I cannot explain why the earthquake disappeared. I guess that makes me a liar. But how is that different than your average politician? Politicians just straight up lie sometimes. They tell you what you want to hear, and they don't do a damn thing other than serve the corporations. Speaking of that, do you know what the number one profession is for furries? There's been a recent study on that. And did you know that bankers, people in the banking industry, they're the number one profession for people who are into furries. You know why I think that is? Is because bankers have more money and those costumes cost a lot. That's my theory as to why bankers are the top profession in the furry industry. I don't know much about the furry industry, but it's a thing. And you might want to look it up. You might not want to look it up, but bankers, not too surprising. Not too surprising at all. Something I'm going to do the next episode. I want to stay focused here on my list here. That's given to me by the writers and the journalists who, journalists bring me stories and I report some of them here. Okay. I'm completely honest all the time. I don't make up stuff on the show ever. And sometimes I claim something and weird things happen, like that earthquake issue, but I'm here to report the news, okay? Much like the fake news network. That actually was one of the titles I was considering for this channel, but I think there already is a YouTube channel called Fake News Network, so there's Schadenfreude, right? The taking pleasure in other people's misery. And I think what I provide is, I don't know if there's a word for it. There should be a word for it, where I take pleasure in torturing rich people, the privileged people that don't typically they don't understand that the people around them are agreeable and nice, is because if they aren't, they don't get money. A lot of rich people don't understand that if you weren't rich, those same people won't give you the time of day. That's just how money works. This is why, small businesses don't often succeed, is because they don't have that kind of support. When you don't pay someone, they're not loyal. Let's see how YouTube is doing. I'm really focusing on this a lot. It looks like it's getting nearly done, eh? That's interesting. See that yellow light outline there? See if I unselect it. And then I see that? That's weird. So there's a bit of I don't know. I found a few. That's the third little issue I found in this episode. See, this is photo mode, but there's a big yellow outline in photo mode. But if I unselect it, the yellow outline's not there. You could almost think it's done here, but they're still building that tower portion, I guess. See, the tower's missing. So that'll get done soon here. Let's grab some money. Gonna do a little bit here. A little idiotic thing here. Let's take another perspective here. Let's do it from the hills up here. Up in the hills. Okay. Up in the Hollywood Hills. And this is Hollywood in the game, just so you know. Okay, so I have an idea for a new Windows feature. Okay, so as you know, shareholders like to make money and leech off the population by getting free money off their investments. Like, they fail to understand the purpose of money is to spend it, to put it back in the community. But a lot of them, there's this invest to make money with your money, which makes no philosophical sense if you think about it. Because if everyone did that, no one would ever work. We would be back in the caves. All economies would collapse unless we could indoctrinate enough low-paying wages and immigrants to do all the work for us. So the idea of investing in shares isn't a sustainable thing. You'd have to scam people to sustain such an economy long term. So here's an idea for a new Windows feature that could do just that. So what if you were to update Windows to have file transfers intermittently just freeze up? Every now and then you want to transfer a video to an external hard drive. 1 in 20 times it will just fail to do it. It's just a feature of the operating system. And you would hover over the start icon to disable this feature. Well, it's not a feature. It's inhibiting the functionality of the operating system intermittently. But if you hover over the start button, it will work, okay? But that's only available in the newer versions that you have to upgrade to. So this way you can sell more product to fix this problem that you would introduce, right? And then you make all the shareholders happier, right? So that's how capitalism really does work. Although they don't usually intentionally do it, I'm suggesting you intentionally do it. That you make it so that It has to do with file transfers, and eventually people will get fed up with it and they'll have to buy the new version that has this fix feature where you hover over the start button. I don't know. That's how capitalism really works. Okay? Just learn a bit about the world you live in. The fakeness of a lot of industries. Some of them are legitimate industries. Most of them aren't anymore. The big corporations are notorious. They should be nationalized. Starting with insurance. All insurance, FEMA, UBI. They should all be one thing. Big pharma, all nationalized. And quite frankly, yeah, Microsoft I think should be nationalized too. These are things you kind of need because people need computers. It's good to manage your time. The CIA loves it when you use computers, right? So I think these are the kind of things you'd want to nationalize. It's just this having all these private individual. I, for one, could care less how my operating system's coded. I just want it to work like it did 30 years ago and not change too much in terms of reliability. But to make things less reliable, like that's what we're actually seeing is things less reliable. If you bought a freezer that was made in the 1960s recently, it will last another 100 years. If you bought a freezer manufactured recently, for some reason it will only last 10 years. Think about that. Did we get dumber? Why is it suddenly we no longer... There's a logical argument that when you don't understand something, mistakes are made. But when you do understand something, why are the mistakes still made? Capitalism is not good for most people. It just isn't. Even if you could say your pension's in it, that's still not good because you're picking and choosing favorites and it's still wasteful. Why would someone care if their pension was any good or not if universal basic income gave them $2,000 a month anyways? What do they need a pension for in the first place? This big scam of your life. That's just reality. You've been lied to if you defend these positions. You are incorrect. You will not win that debate. Wastefulness in an economy is going to make you pay one way or another. Just a matter of who's lying to you, the guy in the suit and the people who don't actually do any work, who just the salesmen, or the people who actually make you stuff. You know, the people who make your food, your clothes. These are the people that actually run the economy. And if you don't listen to them, your access to these goods will be in question. You might become richer, but the cost of things will be so high, you won't be able to afford anything in the future. I actually have my house here somewhere. I wonder if I'm going to get a job at YouTube. Where's my house? One of these houses is mine. One of these houses. I don't know where it is. I have to look around. I don't know if I'm going to get a job at YouTube. See, look at that. The construction workers are coming in. Right now, I don't think we have too many. Well, we could create more jobs. Once this building's done, this will have a lot of new jobs. But this goes right into this heavily populated area here. So all the people in these buildings soon will be able to work at YouTube. So that's an idea. This could have some butterfly effect on other industries, though. It could mean we lose some workers in this area. However, that's not a big deal because this actually does increase the productivity. Like, television does convey knowledge as long as it's not capitalist propaganda. And YouTube does have some capitalist propaganda, but what can they do, right? And what can I say? I'm on YouTube itself. I can't be too critical of the capitalists that do shows on YouTube. I'd say for the most part, YouTube of all the platforms is the most open to the public and the most honest there is overall. It's not perfect, but it is the most honest. How are we doing for concrete? Concrete's, I think, going to be the bottleneck. Actually, it isn't the bottleneck. We're still waiting on steel. Okay. Good thing we have those couple of extra open haul trucks there delivering things. That is our bottleneck. They're all in use. I don't think it matters. I think we're going to be done. What did we just finish here? Oh, we discovered a vaccine. Okay, so that's good. I'm not going to increase the birth rate. I am just not going to research anything at the medical university right now. I think we're going to have big problems this winter, to be perfectly honest, because truthfully, the big bottleneck in our civilization here is heat capacity, and that's why getting the coal mines built up here in this little coal deposit in Vegas is going to be a very high priority. I think we might have to even buy some coal and stockpile it in another heating plant if we're going to achieve our 20,000 census. I have a feeling we might lose some people. We could, like, it's going to be a little chilly for the people this year. If I max out the hospitals, we'll get through it. You know, technically then I've achieved the goal. I know it's a little bit of cheating to do that, but I think we could do that if we're going to finish the season with the 20,000 people and 2 million. Look at that. We're way over. We're at almost 4 million borrowing power in US dollars. That ramped up rapidly ever since the tourism industry started. You know what? And I am concerned here where I think we're going to get this done comfortably. Very comfortably. Oh, we need electronics. Do we have a covered hull truck? Why isn't it bringing the electronics? It's supposed to be. Maybe one of the other ones is. We need a covered hull. Oh, so that's for the next phase, so it'll jump into action. We're going to finish this easy. Let's start our other hotel right away here. We have a 5 stars hotel. Maybe we'll call this... We'll make a new brand here. Let's go with... Just be silly. Let's go with 6 stars hotel. It's a 3-star hotel, but hey, it's like with the All Beef Corporation, right? That's how capitalism works. So we've got to get a few more tourists in here. This is making so much money. This is the one thing I can't deny anymore. The ability to get all our tourists inside hotels. We're charging so much too. Mind you, we might have to come down on price at this hotel a little bit because it's not quite filling up. This one here, I have the price nearly max and they still want to go to it. But it is a very nice hotel. But the big thing is how many people we got at the border are not actually able to get to a hotel. Where is that? Oh, that's an easy fire to put out. Our fire station here will have no issue with that one. Let's keep an eye on that. I'm going to talk to you about an idea. So, have you ever wondered if you're being spied on by your, foreign actors? Maybe a company, maybe a capitalist. The capitalists have infiltrated the CIA, so not everyone in the CIA is trustworthy. Look at some of the projects they did in San Francisco. Look at the Charles Manson story. Not 100% of the CIA is helping society. There's a small percentage of intelligence workers that are, in fact, agents for capitalists, for wealthy individuals, to make sure people do not go against the ideas of capital interests, right? So you have to be mindful of people spying on you. It could actually be just other people in your community. You could have enemies you don't know about for whatever reason. People have mental issues. They decide you're an enemy for no reason, or at least unprovoked reasons, because not everyone can think well, right? Not everyone can win at simulated communism. They rely on that. They're actually loyal to capitalism, some people, because they rely on the rich people to take care of their family with their jobs and everything. So they find people that are anti-capitalist a concern. So they will attack you, a person who's trying to help society and help them and make their life better, to protect the person that's oppressing them. It sounds crazy, but people will protect their oppressors. There's a guy I linked in the channel here that talks about the Stockholm syndrome for people who are oppressed by the rich, that they're so used to it that they get accustomed to thinking a certain way, even though it doesn't make any rational sense to be poor just to serve these people. But it's the Stockholm syndrome. The people that captivated them they understand their capitalist story and they have sympathy for it, but they don't therefore hear like my story, right? Or the other people who have had much worse lives. I'm not saying I've had the worst life out there, but it's definitely below average. I'm not homeless, okay? So that's way below average. And if you don't recognize those people need the help, instead you support rich people, you have problems, okay? But nonetheless, people will still actively defend the interests of capital. So some of them will spy on you. And I thought of a way to detect if someone's spying on you. Okay. So the way the operating system works is there are ways to monitor other people. You can probably see what they're doing on screen. You could probably enable the camera on your machine and you're not aware of it. This can easily be done. Again, I'm a software and electrical engineer. I know exactly how to do this just because the layer of software that shows you the little icons and stuff, a software engineer like me can make it so there's no icons on at all while you're being recorded. In fact, the red light, that's programmed, right? If something's recording, every little button on your electronic devices is customizable to covertly monitor you. Now, that's fine if the government is looking for terrorists, okay, great. But what if they're just spying on you for no reason? What if people in a nation were being spied on by people in another nation? I know I'm very pro-China, but that doesn't mean there are concerns from people from China or other nations spying on you, right? That you'd want to be aware of it. And maybe you are a wealthy capitalist and you aren't aware you're being spied on. So one way to check that is to check the bandwidth. Okay, so what is the expected bandwidth of the network for the activities you're doing and what direction is the data being transmitted? So let's say I'm on a browser and I'm not watching videos. In the browser and the common software programs, there's an expected usage of bandwidth. But what if that bandwidth is higher than expected? Your internet service provider technically could identify that. They could go, hey, you're supposed to be using 50 megabits per second for whatever you're doing, but for some reason it's 80, right? Why is that? So the ISP could be aware of the spying. And of course, your ISP could be spying. They know who's spying because they're the ones who do the spying, right? But they are not aware of other people spying on you. And they would have a concern of other people were spying on you. So at the very least, your ISP should be aware you're being spied on. And maybe they could notify you, right? Now, I don't know if letting the individual being spied on having access to this software, expected bandwidth versus the actual bandwidth software tools, I don't know if they make sense necessarily from a security perspective for individuals to have, because then really the bad guys could detect it, right? So maybe it's something only your ISP should have, and they should notify you as a service that we think you're being spied on. And of course, they would be giving their position that they're spying on you by doing this, because they know how much bandwidth you should be using versus reality. But I'm okay with that. I don't do anything evil. I share information. I teach the world of the evils of the rich and the powerful and the corrupt and the liars. So I'm okay with that. I'd be curious if someone was spying on me, and I'm sure a lot of you would be too. So there's an idea for a bandwidth detection tool your ISP can provide you to detect if you're being spied on. So just let me know what you think in the comments. That's a good idea. Oh, look at this. It's done. Oh my God. Why is there no, oh my, we don't have drinking water here. And they're all on culture, but we don't want culture. We want Soviet propaganda. Let's max out the propaganda. Let's keep it at 100% propaganda right here. Loyalty is such a good thing. It is such a good thing in this game. Not only does it increase your productivity, let's just talk a little bit about this, okay? I am a little concerned with how many people I am employing right now at my television station, at YouTube here, because it does boost the productivity of everyone else, but you can't have, like, that's 190 workers just boosting the productivity. Making everything 2% loyaler, And right now we only have 52% with the television. I think I'm going to lay off a little bit of people here. Let's go down to, let's match the staff with the actors, okay? You don't want to have too many YouTube shows out there. Keep it balanced so that essential jobs are taken care of. You want to unlock the ability to research the television station and the tech tree, and then unlock the technology that gives you Soviet propaganda, because in general, this is the best there is for you. But if you do have culture issues with the people that work here, or just in your civilization in general, you might want to add a little bit of culture. Let's actually add 5% here. A little bit of sports, right? Let's add 5% there. Oh, can't go with 5. Let's go with, do it that way, 6%. And now 1%'s missing. I'm sure they're figured out. But the big one's Soviet propaganda, because it's really, you can't really build, other than your monuments can only take you so far. This takes you to the next level of propaganda. And the benefits of this is people are less likely to flee. They're more productive. And when they flee, just so you know, if they flee, it actually can cause orphans too. So there's a lot of negative effects to low loyalty. Loyalty is a pretty big deal. Not only does it give you extra productivity, it keeps your people loyal. Like, let's say you forgot the heat, right? Oops, I didn't get, this apartment building here didn't have heat for 2 months. But if they're loyal enough, they might stay anyways. So I wouldn't recommend building a television station before the radio station, because the television station is more expensive and it has less benefit. Like here we get 1.3%, but here we're getting almost 5% loyalty from the radio station. But if your population's big enough, this is on everyone. So, we're approaching 20,000 people. So I'm okay with building a television station at this point. It's very expensive on realistic mode. You will go bankrupt if you build this too early. You have to build a lot of other things first. You got to have multiple universities before you even think of the television station. But in the long run, eventually you're going to have to build it. And there it is. Get people with televisions, produce enough electronics, make sure they're getting their electronics, and then eventually work your way up into employing everyone at YouTube. So basically that's how the television station works. Bit of a tutorial. Let's hit play here. This is called Gonzo U-Tube. Okay. See, I work for YouTube. I affect the algorithm. You should watch my show. You'll learn more about the algorithm at YouTube. It's very important. If you're trying to get famous on YouTube, it's important to know that I know. You saw how I adjusted the number of workers that work at YouTube? Actually, I'm going to lower it a little bit more. Let's go down to 80. I think that's too many. We don't want this many people. See how I'm affecting the algorithm at YouTube? Because I work at YouTube. I actually own part of YouTube because I'm a communist. So there you go. That's Gonzo U-Tube as a topic. I don't know how that's spelt in the title, but it's nonetheless a topic. If you're familiar with Gonzo journalism, that's when the journalist gets involved in the stories. They start affecting things. Hunter S. Thompson, he's actively involved in the news. So maybe you'll watch this and you'll go, hey, wait a second. Do you really work at YouTube? Yes, I do. Look. I hope someone's listening to that and not seeing the video to go with it, because that's why that bit works. Maybe it's not as funny. Well, maybe if you're watching the video and maybe you find that funny. Okay, well, we got our YouTube done. I want to get a hotel done as bonus, because if we're going to be not doing our actual train building like it should be, look at all these surplus concrete mixers. I want to at least get, this guy's been run to the ground. Let's give this guy repairs. Yeah, I want to get a hotel built if we're not going to be building enough track. I put a lot of time and effort into this. So let's see how this works here. Actually, I think it does make them a little happier. We'll see. See if we can get up into the 70 percentile here. It's very rare we've gotten over 70% happy. It's usually because of the winters. Winters sometimes are bad. Last winter was good. You will notice the population substantially increased between winters. It's been growing at the same rate for about 3 years. The only difference is before the last episode, lots of people died. Okay. This time they didn't. The way I did that was I actually had enough garbage buffered. Like we were well stockpiled for garbage. So that helped. And I actually started burning the heat or generating the heat well in advance. So it seems like if you kind of prime your heat exchangers or your boilers a little before they start getting cold, it seems to be, even though it's the same total amount of joules being delivered, it's less of a penalty. Yeah, they were freezing bad in February in this game. I was out of mixed waste to burn. I thought they were going to die again. But this time, I don't know how we're going to do this at 20,000. That's a way above what our heating capacity is. So I don't know how next episode's going to be. I really do think we have to really focus on getting the new permanent heat solutions in place out here in Las Vegas. So we'll have to worry about that next episode. Like, I don't know if we're actually going to get the heat plant built, but I am really thinking of ambushing it. We're going to have a bunch of buildings in here. I know I've watched this on Reddit. This is actually, I see this asked multiple times on Reddit, is how do you get communism to spread in one of these towns without everyone leaving? So we're going to, next week, that's just going to be something I think we'll be ready to try. After we do this hotel, which is good for money purposes, we definitely need lots of money. It's more important to have money than to make sure everyone lives in this game. That's what this game teaches you. Again, this isn't real communism because we don't have nationalized banks. Look at China. Top 4 banks in the world are all Chinese. That's the key for socialism to work. That's the missing element. As long as you don't have people-owned banks, and I think the top Chinese banks are in fact specialized too. Like some of them have to do with farming, some of them have to do with construction, various industries. Like they're specialized banks. So that's the secret to socialism success, is to have the interest being collected go to the people. Here in this game, I pay these interest payments. I can't tax it back. The closest thing I can do is this tourism, which seems to be overly, like, I guess in a way this is the tax mechanic in the game. This is how taxes work. If you wanted to, tax your people, build tourism. All that money they steal from the borders then gets reintroduced back into your country because they pay a lot at the hotels and at these various sites. I might build this too for next episode, but I think the prime focus is going to be to ensure our construction industries get this zone all set up for next episode. Ooh, it's a night view here. I'm going to borrow lots of money so I can go on this one for a while. This is on the topic of YouTube, okay? This isn't YouTube's fault. YouTube is the best. It really is the best. I've been addicted to YouTube for many, many years. I think 2010 is when I started watching YouTube, maybe 2008 or 9. One of the problems, though, in general, and YouTube does have this a little bit, is that there is a paywall to become successful in business. As much as a good show, good topics, good content, good editing. Editing is a big deal. The more you edit, the better your show is. There is indeed a paywall to be successful on these platforms. All the platforms are like that. You go to Twitch, you go to YouTube, you want to get a lot of followers on X, you're going to have to pay someone to promote you. You need a certain critical amount of followers to become genuine. I know there's a reason why they have fake followers. You can buy them for X just to make yourself seem more important. And in a way, it does influence other people to listen to you more seriously. But that costs money too. The big one, though, is editing, because editing is actually more effort than making these shows. So one of the things that I think would be good for YouTube, and another thing too, is SEO as well. SEO will help with YouTube. It will help with the Google algorithm. If you have a website, you need SEO. So why is it that a lot of these big companies don't offer some SEO and editing services? In a way, it's kind of a paywall. It keeps a bias towards the rich people. And I guess as a business model that under capitalism, until we get socialized, once socialism takes over, there's less motivation to be biased towards the rich people because the source of money would instead come from everyone. Everyone's salaries would double, so people could, subscribe for the paid YouTube, all the other services that have a subscription model, but no one can afford to pay for. That would change. This would become your source of money. So then the motivation is to make the highest quality shows rather than highest income generating shows. The truth is, a lot of people out there think, oh, you can just start recording, make your own show, or start your own business. You need to have probably about $250,000 in the bank of surplus money above your living expenses if you want to even start a business nowadays. A bank won't even give you a loan for more money than that if you want to get started. SEO is a bit of a scam nowadays because if you don't know the rules to it, the people who offer great services that people want simply won't find you without SEO. And if you don't have the money for the SEO, no one can do it. So it would make more sense for Google to actually offer this as a free service in a socialist nation to make sure everyone gets serviced better. You would actually make more money under that model. But right now, it's incentivized for certain competitors not to be found, and that's a little sad. Western economies are at the mercy of these paywalls, the SEO, the impressions. I know, like, Facebook is, I'm not going to have anything positive to say about Facebook because I've made many posts on Facebook in the past and never got seen at all. You get washed out. They legitimately look at it seems like they look at your net worth, and your impressions will be governed by that. That's how their business model works. It is such a sick thing. And then you get these dummies that become famous and the geniuses you'll never hear of. So let's see some socialism and let's get rid of the paywalls, right? That would make a better society. I do not believe it's in any way purely based on ability or quality of content. If you wanted a fair playing field, we'd all have access to the same quality of editors. Editing makes a big deal in this show. See, one of the things about the placement of this building too is it's right by our residential area and it causes no pollution. It's a good place to put it. And once we get our metro, we can bring workers in from further away. This will have an effect on our bus systems though, because now there's going to be a lot less people waiting for buses here. Because this U-Tube building took away a lot of our workers. And that's something to think about too for entertainment, just in principle. That how many entertainers do you really need? Do you need other people copying Dump City? No, all you need is Dump City. You can get rid of every other YouTube channel. They're all kind of pointless if you think about it. A lot of shows are kind of silly. It's better than begging for money on the street, okay? I'll give you that. But some of the people making, if you make 7 figures on YouTube, are you worth it? I don't know about that. I know you're creating a few jobs for editors and stuff, and it depends on the show, I guess. I think this show is better, just overall. It's just more stuff going on, right? Ooh, look at all this plastic waste. That big train. This is how we make plastic here. I don't think this is profitable, by the way. It doesn't lose money either. It's kind of a neutral thing, recycling plastic. And it lets us produce it without having to go through the whole plastic supply chain. So it's kind of nice that way. So here's an idea for tell me what you think of an idea for promoting this show. I want to fake my own death. Once the season's done recording, as a way to promote it. And I want it to look like it's like a news story, and that we'll make up some fake billionaire name. Local billionaire murdered me because they were so angry with the fact that I was exposing all his scams. I have a friend who might help me do this, to film this. We'll need maybe fake blood or something, where I'm murdered. This is how you get introduced to the show. Maybe if this does get actually done, and you're listening to it now, you'll understand a little bit how this crazy show actually works. So I faked my own death, murdered by a capitalist, and then people are like, what was he talking about on the show that made a rich person that angry that they would murder basically a person who makes less than 20,000 a year? Why would they be so angry? Because of the scams that get exposed, obviously, in Dump City of the rich, right? So I want to fake my own death and just a little thing and get people curious about the show. Tell me what you think. If that should be, oh, this will be in episode 40. This is the 40th episode, right? Of season one. If you think that's something that should be done, why not, right? Faking your own death to introduce yourself to the public. And then, season two, I'll just be they'll be, wait, I thought you were killed. And that's why it's funny, I guess. All right, we are closing in. Let's see if we can get this little hotel done. Look at that. Is that the hotel built, the 6 stars hotel? Look, okay, we got to adjust our routes a little bit here. I'm going to change my discount tours route. I set this up in a previous episode, but we were saturating our people, but this is now even more of a tourist trap than before. We're just shoveling people in to be consumers in our civilization and our communist utopia. This route basically goes to Mexico, then it goes to Canada, then it goes to the Hotel California, but we're going to add a new stop here. We're going to go to the 6 stars hotel. So we'll set that up as our discount tours. So now the first place they'll go to with all the tourists, let's see if we can get a bunch of tourists in here. Maybe they were influenced by the new propaganda we have on YouTube. Maybe it was a television, maybe it was a radio ad that got them interested. Maybe a website. They checked the search algorithm and it came up in their feed. And they were really, really high prices because we targeted the rich people in the capitalist nations, right? Let's assign this to this bus here. And let's watch this bus deliver some tourists. We got to hit play on that. And we'll wind up the episode here. Oh, we're buying money quick. Oh, that was a close one. Sometimes I pause, but I thought I'd play with a bit of fire going bankrupt for a second. I'm not really square in my chair here. My chair is falling apart. I found this chair in the garbage, eh? They left it in the back lane. And it's just the right size. It fits my arms. Makes a bit of noise, but the back of it's all peeled off, so I used like an old tablecloth to cover it up. But it's otherwise a nice chair. Let's get the mayhem started again. Let's get the track workers working again. If there's a traffic jam at the end, not a big deal. We got our U-Tube built here. Look at all these people going to work. If they're capitalists, they're lying about the need for their paywalls. If they are not capitalists, then they're probably teaching you something useful here. Let's make a little bit of asphalt right here. I'm not sure how the paths are going to work on this area here. I might put a building around here, so I don't want to put asphalt here, but I think this is a permanent path here. We may as well put some walking paths there. And this area is slowly going to expand out. We're going outside our little freeway system here. Eventually, we're going to have to double this up. That's probably going to be a season 2 thing, where we essentially inundate our city with too many cars because we're going to start making way too many and we're going to cause gridlock, right? That's one of the critical flaws of capitalism. If it gets involved in the politics and it allows itself to constantly bail itself out without any kind of correction from outside sources, eventually no new businesses, and that we already see this statistically, no new businesses get formed. Nations go bankrupt eventually because you can't have that where just a small few people essentially, control all the money. It's pretty obvious that this can't be something that is sustainable. We got a fire here. Let's see if we can put this fire out. This is going to be a problem. Oh, I know another way we could put this out. We got another fire station here. We're going to increase the workers for a bit and we're going to send a fire truck. This might go out on its own, but just in case. So we'll put out a fire and we'll get some tourists in. This is a really hard spot to put out a fire. So this one will be a bit of a challenge. So we're going to see if we can get some tourists in our hotel from Discount Tours. Let's have a look at that. And then we're going to sign off here, because that's as much entertainment as I can do. Let's find this bus here. It's already loaded with tourists. You know what? We don't need more tourists. Let's just go to 6 Stars Hotel. How come it doesn't? Oh, it's loading right now, I think. Yeah, it's going in, so I can't stop it. So it was able to get enough from Mexico alone. So that'll instantly, I think that'll instantly fill up our hotel. So now Mexico doesn't have a whole bunch stockpiled. Oh my God, they're already, we got to increase the prices. This hotel's too cheap. It's a 6 Stars hotel. I should have jacked up the price right away. Oh, we don't have any crap in it. Uh-oh. We have to add a destination here. Because they need food and amenities in it. So let's just make sure we have that hotel. Okay, so it's got stuff. Yeah, it's bringing the food in just before the people get there. So it'll be fresh food. Let's see if we can get this fire put out here, and that will be the episode. Okay, this is a tough fire. This is in a dead zone. Oh, this fire truck's made it quick. If this was winter, that could have just burnt down, because that truck cannot get there. If it just snowed, it would have had difficulties getting there. Okay, so we put that up fairly quick. Okay, let's find that bus, and we'll follow it in. And this was how we'll end the episode, as it brings our tourists to the 6 Star Hotel. We have U-Tube built here. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Leave comments, suggestions. Season's coming to an end. Got to do other topics. We're making some money here. We're closing in on 20,000. I think we're going to hit it soon, but at census time, I think we're going to have problems for next episode. I really do. I know we don't have the heat capacity, and I don't think we have the time to build it either, so we're going to have some issues to deal with, but I think maybe after that, the season, we'll reach our goals. So hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next week.